but that's the way it goes. If you don't like this podcast, your opinion blows. Cause we're the cover decoder, cover decoder. Cover decoder, cover decoder.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another exciting episode of Cover Decoder.
Always exciting.
Tonight, we're going to reach our utensils, puncture the flabby amorphous blob of the cover world, and suck out a pale blob of beautiful covers to study and explore.
Do we like expel it from our mouths, or is it like when you siphon gas out of your uncle's car and you just like let the goo pour into like a jug?
That's right. And you get a little bit in your mouth and you spit it out and it's just yes, the liposuctionist's art. Delightful. So tonight we've got kind of a special episode, a warm and fuzzy episode.
Yeah.
We're still in the COVID times, and this gives us time to pause, to reflect, to think about our childhoods, where we once were, and the things that inspired us as children. We're trying to get back to our roots, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
To the mini Brungineer.
Digging into the little soft, tender hearts. to pluck out the little pearls of innocence. Lay them on the ground.
Right, y'all can't see this, but Tapes is rubbing his man chest, which
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure has been
boy.
there since birth.
Tapes doesn't wear clothes.
No.
He doesn't wear clothes.
No, I wouldn't wear them at work either, but they told me on my first day that I would be fired if I did that again. So I now wear clothes at work.
Mr. Tapes, we don't have a hair nut big enough.
When they gave me the mask to wear, for the first day, I was like, oh, this is cool. And I walked out of the bathroom with it strapped on me like a jock strap and nothing else. And they were like, no. The mask goes on your face. The mask goes on your face. It's a perfect junk sling, though.
Now, Tapes,
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question. What was your favorite childhood book?
Are we talking like when I was a wee lad?
Wee lad. You two inks, your favorite childhood book. You know, they're usually like 15, 20 pages, colorful art.
Mine was, what was it called? Clyde the Cowardly Knight or something like that. I can't quite remember the name.
Ooh, was that a Bill Pete?
Maybe. It was about this knight.
Yes, Bill Pete.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's
BP
exactly is getting
right.
a legacy eventually.
He goes into a forest and he fights a dragon. I just remember the dragon was really cool. I wish I could remember the name.
The Mad Underbite. I'm pretty sure that's Bill Pete, but I don't know.
Ooh, the Stegosaurus of Shy Creek. Or Shy Stegosaurus of something Creek.
The Shy Stegosaurus of Cricket Creek.
Cricket Creek, that's what it was. That was another classic one. My father used to read that to me with his husky voice and put me straight to sleep. And the Stegosaurus was walking to the creek. And then he said hello. And I was passed out. You know, dads just had that special, soft, deep voice.
Dude, your dad was David Attenborough?
The Aussie version. Engineer, what was your childhood story?
David Ozzieboro.
So, this particular person is important to me. And I would say not because... Well, for multiple reasons. Primarily, he's a very well-known children's author, and I used to go with my mother to the bookstore, and I would get a book for me, and my mother would let me pick a book out for my brother, and my brother was obsessed with Little Critter books. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Little Critter, it's about this
so good.
strange, hairy, bowl-cut creature with a bulbous nose. And it's all the same, like Berenstain Bears type stuff. He learns about cheating and stealing.
He might be a beaver. He's definitely a mammal.
He's a critter. He's a little creature. Now, these stories are by a very famous name in the children's author and art world, and he goes by Mercer Mayer.
Oh, Mercer Mayer. Oh
Mercer
man,
Mayer.
This is a terrifying picture. Why did you choose this picture? This is horrifying.
So the picture I have here is of Mercer. He's an old man. He was born in 1943.
Dude.
And he looks like he's got his hand up the butt of a puppet. That looks like
that's straight up. He looks like the elf that's like in. He looks like the elf from Neverending Story that's studying the Sphinx.
He looks like he says something nice and that to the kids, and then little critter is like, "I'm gonna kill you all."
So he actually does these videos where he gets little critter to read the books, and he puts them on YouTube.
It's exactly what I was just saying then.
Exactly.
What was that?
Yeah.
What was that little critter? What did you want to say?
I will kill you, and he spins his head around and spits out the green goo.
If you should die before you wake.
So a bit about Mercer Mayer. Now, I will get to why he's important to me, but first let's just go over the author a little bit. And he was born in 1943 in Arkansas. He's an author of over 300 books. Think of that, 300 books.
Yeah. Wow.
Of books that he has illustrated. And he uses a variety of technique, primarily ink and watercolor.
Yep. Classic storybook.
His classic stories are Little Critter and Little Monster.
Why is ink and watercolor so classic for children? Do you think it's just like lighter tones or something? It's more digestible for kids? Like it's not as hard on the eyes as oils, maybe?
I'm not sure what easier? It is. I mean, we had it with Juan Jimenez was ink, and he would ink and then he'd do watercolor over it. It's a medium I like to use because you can kind of do this like organic drawing, and then you ink it, and then you can put it away, and then later on watercolor it. It doesn't require like the intensity of using acrylics and getting it done because everything's drying. You can kind of do things in like layers. And I'm not sure why it's so popular for children's books, but I mean, you think the first thing that kids learn to paint with? Watercolor.
Yeah, watercolor is true. You know what's cool too? That Brengineer brings this up. I had a lot of Little Critter books. I remember one of the ones that I remember the best. I forget what it's called. I think it's called There's a Monster in My Closet or Nightmare in My Closet. And he makes these amazing, warty, horny looking monsters.
Dude, I remember the little movie they made for that.
Yes, and
with
it's this giant monster that keeps crawling in his bed. And that's the funny thing about Mercer Mayer is his books are pretty innocent, but the creatures are pretty fucking scary.
Yeah, I remember that thing. It had the big doofy face, and it's like
that was one of his big successes. That story, and it got negative press because it came out around the same time as Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh.
That was going to be my choice for favorite book.
But kids and parents liked it so much that it ended up being a success. So Mercer lived in Hawaii as his father was stationed there in the military. He went to Honolulu's University of Art, and he moved to New York in the 60s to further his education.
And for the weather.
There you go. Essentially, he was told by an artist that his portfolio was crap and to throw it away.
What have we talked about? Brengineer, what have we talked about so many times about people telling artists, you're never going to go anywhere. You hear me? You're done.
You're never going to be an artist, Mercer.
Yeah. Well, in this case, he did it. He threw his portfolio out, and then while he was working on new portfolio, he was working in an advertising firm. And then eventually, his portfolio got him all kinds of jobs, and he put out his books through Golden Publishing. Are you familiar with Little Golden Books?
Oh, easily.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go. So they were the company that released all his Little Critter and Little Monster books, and helped make him one of the most successful children's authors of all time.
Well, that's awesome.
So I'm just gonna. I have this book. My wife found this. I actually collect. I like to collect kids' books.
You like to collect creepy kids' books.
creepy kids books, because there is just so much good stuff in there. So as you can see, his art.
Oh, look at the little gremlin. It's the eyes.
Detailed.
It's the sleepy eyes.
So
these look like creatures straight out of the labyrinth. Where's David Bowie and his rockin' codpiece?
So this book I'm holding up is called "The Wizard Comes to Town," and it's about this wizard who goes and stays at this this basic hotel in this woman's house.
This is amazing.
And
this is amazing.
Yeah.
Is this a kid's book?
It's a kid's book. And this wizard causes all these problems, strong winds, and so on and so forth. So the owner of this hotel decides to get even with this wizard, and dresses up as a witch and summons all these creatures to take care of.
This is so cool.
Take care of the wizard.
No, this guy is a creature guy. This guy has a little darkness. There's something strange, folks, about military brats becoming artists, because we're going to talk about this in another episode. We're not going to open this casket yet, but Brahm was also a military brat, and his whole thing is creatures and monsters. That's a different level, but Mercer Mayer, same thing. So I think it's something about traveling when you're young, and I don't know, maybe the things you see or being isolated, that you just create these things in your head.
That is the dream, is to sit and draw creatures and monsters and dragons all day long.
All day, brother.
Critters. Sorry, I'm getting passionate, and so it's like, I just won't draw. Yeah, that is the dream.
Mercer did it.
So, here's why Mercer Mayer is important to me. Here's a little connection. A while ago, we did a What's in the Box episode, and we pulled out a book called The Face and the Frost by John Bellairs. Now, Bellairs primarily used famed artist Edward Gorey as his illustrator in his books, and we'll talk about Edward Gorey.
That's a legacy,
quite
folks.
Literally,
Gorey
tapes
is a
right
legacy.
now. I was joking about Tapes being naked. I'm pretty sure he is absolutely naked. But you know what? It doesn't matter. This is Corona times.
Hey, it's so hot under the table that I'm recording that there is no sack. It's just all splaying out on the floor like a weird amorphous rug.
I'm okay with that. I just think that maybe you should do your Schlecht-Wiener your Schlecht-Wiener ritual after we record. Is that? I mean, I can see the ham.
I had all this extra hot dog water, and I figured since we were doing this, I might as well bathe my feet.
In hot dog water. Okay, perfect.
3, paragraph 4 says. As Edward Gorey probably does.
So, Edward Gorey was primarily John Bellairs' illustrator, but for the sequel to one of my all-time favorite books, The House with a Clock in Its Walls, he used Mercer Mayer. So if you go down to this incredible
I cannot
book cover,
believe this. Actually, I kind of can now that you've showed me that last book, but this is Mercer Mayer?
Yeah, this is Mercer Mayer. So
John Bellairs, it's not early childhood for me, quite, but kind of a little later childhood, more adolescent years. John Bellairs was huge. My brother and I, we would just listen to John Bellairs books on tapes all the time, and it is absolutely the covers that suck you in. And Edward Gorey has this amazing signature style, but honestly, this is so similar.
It's good.
It is very similar, but it's very much its own thing, and it really just shows you what's going to happen in these books. It's this the book is called The-Figure-in-the-Shadows. It's
so beautiful.
Dark gothic children's sort of occult mystery. And when I was a kid and I pulled this off the shelf and looked at this cover, boom, took it home.
Dude, as an adult, if I didn't know who
100%. John
Bellairs was or any of these books, and I saw this would be in my basket. If they had baskets, this would be in it in a lickety split. This is so cool. You have this amazing New England style town with the old lampposts, and it's this street going on this row of raggedy trees. It's always autumn. There's no leaves on these trees. There's a figure in a cloak with a kind of a skeletal hand on a tree with just, like Brengineer loves, very minimalist lettering. And then in the background is this haunted house. It's a haunted house. It is, when you think of a haunted house, that is what you see.
It is
up.
that house on the hill. It's in silhouette, and the lights are shining through the window. I mean, it's got that moon.
Is this Mercer? Is this Mercer format? Is this watercolor too?
It looks like it. I mean, his inking style has it's a style of its own. I mean, just like with Nightmare in the Closet or his other stuff. I mean, the thing about those creatures is all their ears and their tendrils, they have weight. And just like that, his shadows have weight in this. Everything has
absolutely.
It's there's pressure in those nights. You know what I mean? When you go outside and you're breathing the night air, it has a certain pressure of its own. And I feel like he captures it with the amount of ink and hatching that he uses, to where light really has to push on the darkness in order to make an impact.
And this is what blows me away about this. Last episode, again, episode 9, we were talking about artists that are able to use one kind of color palette to seal a color. This is more colors, but it's mostly blacks. But how do you take so much black? Blacks and blues. How do you take so much black and blue and turn it into this piece where you can see everything, but at the same time, it's all just silhouettes? It's so like mind-boggling to me. Like, I just don't understand how you do this. It looks so amazing.
Well, it's just hyper detailed. It's not hyper realistic, but it's hyper detailed.
Yeah.
There is an incredible amount of detail in this work, and it just brings the world alive. So, not only did this book have great cover art, it had great interior art as well. If you want to go on to the next slide.
Oh yeah.
Terrifying. I mean, this is actually a scary book.
This is Mercer again?
This is Mercer again, yeah.
Wow.
I read this book and House with a Clock in its Walls every autumn.
Mm-hmm.
It's still the two books that I read. I've read dozens of times, and it's just so nostalgic for me. It's one of the things I look forward to every year, and it still gives me the creeps. And part of that is is the interior art. On this one, it's a lonely road, and the figure is standing in silhouette against the sky, and it's winter, and everything is very frosty and dripping with icicles and whatnot.
Yeah, this is amazing. This folks that we're looking at right now, this is literally black and white. There are no other colors. This is just black and white. And once again, this is just, it's so incredibly effective. It looks like Inks was saying, it still has weight. It's still heavy. And it just has this sense of impending doom. And this is a kid's book, supposedly.
Yeah. And then it's about Louis Barnevelt, who is the investigative hero in the stories, as he becomes possessed by the ghost of an evil sorcerer.
Ooh.
Total kid's book.
And this figure tries to lure Louis to basically drown himself in a well. Yeah. So there we go.
Dad, can we not read Figure in the Shadows? No, this is great. This is great. I read this when I was a kid. You're gonna love it.
This is my comfort cover.
So
this makes me feel better during times of
when you open up the book. This is the front panel. So you go down to the next page
again.
And there you go. So you can see as a kid, young Brengineer, you get the chills and the spooks, and
folks,
you haven't even read.
If you want to just step into Brengineer's mind and his future house, just open the front cover of this book.
Or you can look at the.
Brengineer's even there wearing a robe.
I know. Or you can look at the poster of Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price.
There you go.
That was from a previous episode. It is just like this. It's crotch hatched, black and white, old Victorian home.
Yeah, this is bits of people's souls here.
I'm gonna wrap it up here, but I just want to say, it goes to show that you can be a children's author and you can still have darkness to you, and need to get that out. And I think that was definitely the case in Mercer. I still enjoy reading little critter books to my own kids. I find them to be enjoyable books. Now, just real quick, just to wrap it up, I have 2 alternative covers, which aren't nearly as effective. I love alternative covers.
Still good. These are great. I like these, but
they're still
agree.
good. They're still good. But for whatever reason, they're not as effective as the original Mercer Mayer art.
Well, I'm a believer in suspense, and having the world be introduced, but the rest is left to you to
less
fill
is
out.
more. Less is more.
Well, I mean, so
number 2 has the sin.
You don't
number
want to
2
go
has
full...
the Texas cover. It's got the country book stand red border.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Inks, continue. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, this is my personal opinion and stuff that I enjoy. I like it when you have a cover that leaves enough to the imagination, but it pulls you into the world still. So you don't want to go full photographic reproduction, but you don't want to go straight on minimalist. You want to create a doorway, and I feel like the other cover is better at creating that doorway, whereas these are straight scenes out of the book, which is fine, which is great, but it doesn't have that pull.
These are trailers from now, is what these are. These tell you the whole plot. The first one tells you there's a scary skeleton guy who's going to show up and this kid is going to be attacked and blah, blah, blah. And the other one is there's a scary skeletal guy. This kid is following him. There's a mystery. The other one is like, there's a spooky house. What's going on here? There's this guy over here. He's aloof. What's going to happen? What's the plot?
His hand's skeletal? What's going on there?
Yeah. This is like, no, there's an evil sorcerer clearly doing some sort of ritual. But still great. I love this. This is terrifying. This giant skeleton here. What's this kid doing? Is he worshiping this guy? Is he is he about to get stabbed in the face?
I can touch him now.
I can touch you now.
Yeah. So John Bellairs, The Figure in the Shadows. Read the book. Check out some Mercer Mayer art. There's so much stuff out there. I mean, watch him read a little critter book. It's charming.
Is it? As the puppet's going,
it's great.
Don't be naughty to your parents, or I'll eat yourself.
Or else.
Well, that's amazing, folks. You got to see a little bit of the darkness in Brengenier's soul there, the kid-friendly darkness. Please check those out. I can personally brand that cow with my own seal of approval because, those books are amazing. The covers are amazing. I'm going to take you into a much lighter, happier world with the color red here. So if you remember, I talked about the age of Borders and Barnes and Nobles and bookstores, and when you would walk around and you would look at books, and my brother and I, we would go and we would look in the fantasy and the sci-fi section. As far as we were concerned, no other sections in the bookstore mattered or existed. It was just the science fiction and the fantasy, and we would spend a long time. Every single book would be pulled out and looked at, and there were two. There were two that are embedded in my psyche as a child. One was the Battletech series. If you guys have not seen those covers, we're not going to go into those now. That's a whole legacy. Amazing artists, amazing colors, amazing books. The second was the Dragonlance books, which again, I'm not going to deep dive into Dragonlance. Probably TSR will be its own thing, and that's going to be several.
It has to be.
Yeah, but Dragonlance is a spin-off of Dungeons and Dragons. Under TSR, which many of you should all know Dungeons and Dragons. If you don't, crawl out from your cave and go back into the cave again and fight a troll.
Real quick, a really cool book, and it's a good starting place. If you're not familiar with Dungeons and Dragons and all the art, I mean, D&D is about the art. It's the
absolutely.
game. It's the game, and then the art.
It was created for art.
Yeah, they released an entire encyclopedia detailing the history of D&D art. and you can see it back at its infancy when it was like drawn pictures
like pencil drawings on a notebook. Paper, all the way up to Brahm, and his incredible creations.
Right.
Also, documentary Eye of the Beholder. Has a lot to talk about.
Yes. I have told everyone that. I run around work screaming it you gotta listen to me. And if you don't have time to look at that or look at the book that Brengineer was describing, check out Eye of the Beholder. It's incredible.
So, like I said, a lot of heat there, a lot to talk about. We're not going to delve into that because we're doing comfort here. But yeah, Dragonlance was a big one. Science fiction, fantasy, in my brain. There you go. I looked at a lot of covers. I would purchase the books for the covers. A couple standout ones: Kaz the Minotaur, Legend of Huma. All amazing covers with just creatures, amazingly depicted. But there was a series in Dragonlance that I absolutely loved, and it was called the Villains series. And I loved it because it detailed the villains. It detailed the bad guys. Because most book series don't have books dedicated to the enemies, but this series was dedicated to the villains, and I thought that was so cool. And the book that just went into my brain and has never left. And it will forever make me think of my childhood, of driving in the car with my parents to a timeshare we used to have. We used to do it every year. And I always used to bring multiple books with me. And one of the books I brought with me that I will always remember is Emperor of Ansalon from 1993. Look at this cover and tell me that this is just such an amazing cover. First of all, it's red and black. It is red and it is black. There are two colors on this album.
Monochromatic.
And they are used so effectively. So one of you two describe what you're seeing here. So I don't just blow my juices all over it.
So it's a pretty demonic looking image. You have obviously a human in some armor. This armor has a devil's face, glowing gem eyes, fangs, horns coming out, and he's got lightning in his hands, like he's gonna cast a lightning spell. Then there's like a smoke behind him.
This guy takes Darth Vader's lunch money.
Yeah, this dude just stepped onto the stage of his heavy metal gig, and he is about to slay it in his blackened death metal band.
Yeah, this is my favorite kind of painting.
Yep.
This
so
kind of
effective.
Painting, it's dynamic, it's dramatic. It's in no way, shape or form photorealistic. It plays entirely with light. I love painting with light.
Exactly.
And essentially, the only reason you see anything at all is because of light, right? And so in this image, his lower half is black, where the lightning in his hands isn't illuminating, and everything else is just really dramatic shadows.
And that's what's amazing. If you look at like what Brengineer was saying, the really cool thing about this is, that lightning, if you look at the horns and the mask, he does such a good job of emanating that light onto his armor in just the right spots. And it brings into focus all the things that you should be looking at. It brings you right into the center of the piece. And everything else is still there, but it evokes the emotion of, or not emotion, it evokes the feeling of dread and evil. This is not a good guy. This is a bad guy. This tells you exactly what you're about to read. You are about to read about a villain.
You can't see his face under that mask, but you just know he's smiling.
Yeah, he's drunk on his own power right now. The way his eyes are locked onto.
Well, yeah, dude, he just got level 3 lightning bolt. Of course, he's excited. I can't wait to blast someone with this.
I'm going to show Edgar the next meeting that we have. Who's got the real power?
So, last thing about this, the cover before I get into some more detail about it. The other thing I think that from my childhood that really cemented this is a lot of games and books kind of played themselves together in my brain because I played a lot of video games, and one of my favorite video games as a child was Heretic, the first Heretic. And in the first Heretic game, you get a set of I believe they're called the Power Gauntlets. And essentially it's the chainsaw from Doom, but these gauntlets...
They're the gauntlets of the Necromancer.
Gauntlets of the Necromancer. They're covered in lightning, and you would zap enemies with them, and they would explode. So
you're straight up dark Emperor from Emperor Palpatine on their asses.
Absolutely. So the amazing thing about this cover is not only did I look at this and it just brought all this mystery and imagination and amazing horror into my brain, but it also brought that game into my brain. So a cool thing about covers is think about sometimes the correlation of, what else does this make you think of?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times maybe, for Brendan, his favorite time I know is October and I know it's autumn. So it's not just that the Bellairs books are part of his childhood. It's also that they bring him to that favorite time of season. This reminds me of one of my favorite childhood games. So those things are important. So kind of try to make those connections. But let me talk about the artist here. So this is done by Jeff Easley.
Jeff Easley. He's in that Eye of the Beholder documentary. You guys watch.
Yep. So Jeff Easley's a big guy.
Real quick.
Yeah.
For the audience and for me, because I want to see it. Where can you watch it?
Oh,
I think it's on Amazon. Yep.
It's on Amazon.
Oh, really?
Amazon
wow, okay.
Prime. It's got
Amazon
a dragon
Prime.
coming right at you. It's a good cover. We should do the cover sometime. But yeah, you get to talk to Jeff Easley, or you get to hear from him. You get to hear from the four horsemen of TSR at the time. I'm blanking it right now because I'm so excited. But Jeff Easley, big one.
Yeah, cannot recommend that enough. Definitely watch Eye of the Beholder. I'm just going to go ahead because it's really well done. I'm going to read his about on his website. He's got a pretty good website. Good information about him and some really good art of his. But Jeff Easley was born in Nicholasville, Kentucky in 1954. He had an early interest in art and the fantastic element. He was a huge fan of Frank Frazetta.
Of course.
Which, of course, again, folks.
Who isn't?
Who isn't?
This is a legacy we will never finish with the Frazese. So we're not going to go into it. But you can tell. Everything leads to Frazese. If you look at Jeff Easley is an oil painter. That's obviously a Frazetta influence. And if you look at his paintings, you can see that wet, creamy, amazing style that Frazetta had as well. Anyway, he graduated from Murray State University in 1977. He had a brief fling with freelancing, which resulted in a few projects with Marvel and Warren. In 1982, he joined TSR. And that's when they had started to hit their stride with Dungeons and Dragons and the role-playing games. So there you go. Again, started off working his chops, working his way up, and ended up with TCR. He spent 20 years with TCR. Yep, as well as doing Wizards of the Coast. A funny thing from his past, when he was starting, like it said there, he was doing Warren Publications. He did Creepy, Eerie, Vampirella.
Oh, nice.
He did some Savage Swords of Conan, but his main source of income was from Okie Dokie Popcorn Company.
What?
Yep, Okie Dokie Popcorn Company. They did the cheesy Frizzlers, and they did the corny cobs. Did those orange bomb blasters. Yeah, I don't know. There's just some
tooth decayers.
Some cheese dong popcorn company that made like Frito-Lay type products. But it's just funny.
What's the place called?
Okie Dokie Popcorn Company. But yeah, so the Okie Dokie Popcorn Company, like so many of these artists, you guys will be amazed to hear, got their start in doing branding for like food companies. But I just thought that was really funny. So some of his honorable mentions from TSR, he did some highly coveted covers for the second edition core books of D&D. He did the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide. And the Monstrous Manual. So if you guys go ahead and move to the next slide here of mine, you will see two of those covers.
Okay, let me just put this out here. Okay, this is
Okay.
cool. Here's why this is cool. Because you can clearly see that when he started and he got these jobs, one, TSR wasn't super worried about the quality of art going on their books.
Not at all.
these are not traditionally good images.
But they are amazing.
They're amazing in their own right. This is the stuff that made... This is why D&D has such nostalgia for people. Because, yes, it didn't start off with the Brahms. They couldn't afford the Brahms yet. They couldn't afford the Frazettas and things like that. They had
also,
to go...
no one wanted to do it, I don't think. There weren't enough nerds out there.
It was a burgeoning... Well, I'll say real quick, this first player's handbook you have, I think that's David Trampier.
I have it marked as Jeff Easley, but you might be right. I could be wrong. We'll have to double check that.
It might be a Trampier redo because this scene has been done a couple times. But
yeah,
the
absolutely.
original,
Oh, the demon with the bowl?
Yeah, I might be thinking of the Trampier black and whites that he did. But maybe Jeff went back and did it. But if he did a reproduction of Trampier's black and white, he followed it pretty well. And included the succulent bell pepper nose of the demon.
Here's what's interesting though. Like that cover of that player's handbook and that demon, its pose, the horns, where the fire is. It's just like Emperor of Ancelon. It's like the exact same image.
You're absolutely right. It's definitely his style, and you could tell that reds are his. In fact, if you guys go ahead and open up, I have underneath here the source to his website. But if you go there and look at his actual. The pieces he has on there, he loves using hypercolors. Everything is like a shade of a blue or a shade of a green.
Yeah.
And he just translates that because I think he really loves those juicy hubba bubba colors that we've talked about, you know?
Well, in that documentary that we keep on talking about, Eye of the Beholder, go watch it. He is talked about as being the best at magic. Out of all of the four horsemen, Larry Elmore, Clyde Caldwell, Jeff Easley, and Keith Parkinson, got him. Larry Elmore would not use models usually, and it really freed him up to do these amazing, like sweeping paintings. And yeah, he was the best at magic. They said magic and dragons. He was the king of.
Yeah, well, I mean, this Emperor of Ancelon came out in '93, and you can tell. The other thing is too. I don't know. It might even go to show a change in materials, a change in obviously style and technique, but just maybe even just how the images were processed, because this is so crisp and clean and juicy. And if you look at these old Dungeons and Dragons covers, they are farty. They are so farty looking.
Yeah.
So I feel like a big part of it might have just been scanning, you know? Maybe they are crispy, but, just because they're done in, I mean, what is this, 70 something? Or
well, I understand
80s?
too, these are big canvases or big boards that they're using. So they're often not even scans, they're pictures.
You know what? Screw this guy. This guy's stuff's so good. This just makes me mad.
Isn't that, you're looking at his website.
Jeff Easley is a master.
What the heck?
Yeah,
it's like
he's a master.
Yeah, it's
wet. It's so
makes your
wet.
brain hurt. Oh,
it makes your brain hurt, and it makes your
Tape's
Leroy
dropped
purple.
a master bomb on us.
Yeah, absolutely. So and here's the cool thing, folks. Like we keep talking about, this is something from my childhood. It's not something I read all the time, but it's a cover that I will go into my room. And I will I'm supposed to get my keys, and my kids are in the car with the tape mistress, and I just randomly pull out this book. And then I get a call. I'm like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm looking at this book." You know, like it's a book that I just randomly think about. I pull out and I look at, and it just takes me back in time to being a kid and thinking about, putting on cool armor and blowing people up with my shock gauntlets. And the book itself is great too. It's a great adventure. The the Dragonlance series is so much fun. They're great fantasy novels.
If you consider yourself, I'm a serious reader, like my mother, for example, who wouldn't be caught dead with a any sort of fantasy novel of any type in her hands. Don't be that person. Go grab a Dragonlance book, open it up, have a read. It's fun. It's good. It's exciting.
What you read.
There are years, folks. There are years of Dragonlance books. There are so many different series you can get into. There's ones about there's heroes. There's everything you want is in that section. And like I said, TSR is such an amazing pod to jump into because then you have Forgotten Realms, you have Dark Sun. There are so many wells that we're going to go into. We're not going to do it today, but it's just like I said, it's cool. This cover has brought us to here, and we are now talking about a split, a divergence in the cover anus that just spreads out into so many different areas, folks. And if you pull this up, and you start looking at Dragonlance covers, you're going to get excited and you're going to go on a journey.
You'll get cover diarrhea.
You buy the book. You take the book home. You open the pages. You like what you read.
What you see. So folks, that's what I got for you today. Emperor of Ansalon, Jeff Easley. Look it up, buy it, read the whole series, and look up Jeff Easley. He looks like your grandpa. He paints cool pictures.
Yeah, there's so many good stories about him on that documentary, and they're a lot of fun. One of the ones that I remember is they were talking about the way he painted. He would just sit there and study his canvas, and he'd study it. And you'd go get some coffee, and he'd be sitting there studying it still. And you'd go do something else, and he'd still be studying it. And then you'd go to use the bathroom, and you'd come back, and half the canvas was done.
He was just sitting there like, where's the light coming from?
Yeah.
Over north, south? Okay, here it is. There it is, done.
That's how it is. I mean, if once you have... you can have a standoff with a painting for a long time. I'm having a standoff with a painting right now where, for whatever reason, there's just a block, and you gotta go to the canvas. You have to fight it, and sometimes you just stare there. You stand there, you stare what you have, and the shapes come out. And the longer you stare, the more shapes come out at you. And then sometimes it's just about picking the right shape or the right thing, which totally helps you win the battle against that painting.
Yeah, it's weird to think that painters get writer's block. They get painter's block. Oh, yeah. You know? Which is kind of a cool thing. It's cool to think that in all things, you hit a roadblock and you're like, shit, what do I do with this now?
Well, sometimes you sit down and you're like that pinched garden hose, and you just you let it go, and all the creativity just flows out of you. And then sometimes it's like you have to chip away the basalt to finally find the little Mr. Pocket of creativity gold. It depends on the day or the mood or just your mindset. But yeah, creativity does that sometimes, where sometimes it's a flood, and sometimes you have to dig it out.
Right. So speaking of a flood, what's going on over here? Are these guys running from a flood? Is this Chariots of Fire, but there's like
comfort covers? This is comfort covers
chasing them.
So this whole episode idea came because I had already listened to this album like for the third or fourth time that week, and I was like, why do I keep on listening to Paul Simon's Rhythm of the Saints? It came out in 1990. And I was just a little baby Inks playing with my dinosaurs on the rock hard carpet that was in our house in the little town that I lived in. And we started the show talking about going to the bookstore, which we did not have. We didn't even have a library. We had a bookmobile.
We had a mud hut. And there was an old man in there that had some magazine covers.
We had the bookmobile would show up down on Main Street, and I would ride my bike like 3 miles to get there on bookmobile day.
Which was just a cover to sell meth in real life.
No, it had the most lovely librarian lady in
That's
there.
What you thought.
And yeah. And she would give me these little bags to deliver around the town, and then I could come back and have a book. Anyways...
Each album, bag was a little bag of meth.
Doesn't matter. The thing is, I got my book. No, this album, 1990. I remember my parents listening to it, and I didn't really understand it, but I would hear these like bongos and drums and jungle music. Paul Simon's Rhythm of the Saints is jungle music. It's Brazilian drumming, and I would be sitting there with my dinosaur figurines, complete with plastic palm trees, and I'd just be, doing the thing. And one of the tracks that always stuck with me, the first track for one really slaps. It's Obvious Child, and it's got drums by the Brazilian group Olodum. And if you look them up, their music isn't anything like the music that's in this album, but their drums really add a lot of flavor to that first song. But the second song is called I Can't Run But. And this song has been stuck in my mind. And I remember, and to this day, I still feel this way. The song is I can't run, but I can walk much faster. And he's almost chanting it throughout the whole song. And it feels like being hunted. If you've ever been in the woods and the sun's going down and it's getting darker and you know that soon you're going to be fucked. That's the feeling that you get from that song, is that if you take off running, whatever's watching you is going to spring out and just but if you can just keep a steady walk to the outside of the woods, you're going to be all right. That's
clearly what's going on the cover of this album here.
I'm talking about the album.
Stressful. This album cover is stressful.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the music too much because this is cover decoder. The album cover is two native. I'm guessing Brazilian, because they look like they're in full carnival outfit, but they are running through the jungle, and they are. This photo was taken during an exposure to where everything's blurry, and they've got this streaking, ayahuasca dream look to them. And actually, one of the songs in the album is
this what Bill Withers was doing when he was in his trip to
He's got to be. One of the songs is inspired by a ayahuasca trip. I think that's Spirit Voices. But when I went to All Music, I pulled up the credits, and there was like 3 or 4 pages worth of credits because there were so many people making music on this album. But there was 3 photographers, and I don't know which one took this picture. But they had 3 photographers on site with them. I've got a link to that if you want to see who maybe may have taken this picture. The album cover art isn't that fantastic. But I
think these guys, Inks, I hate to tell you, but I think Paul Simon asked these guys if they wanted to be in his album cover, and they are running the hell away because they hate Paul Simon.
Yeah, the cover is not great. The album is for me is comfort food for my ears, but the cover, but as a kid, I remember looking at this CD and like not understanding what I was looking at. These guys running through the jungle from whatever's hunting them in the second track. But then you flip it over to the backside and you've got this band. And I mean, this is how many people were making music on this album. There was
that's insane.
Of just like trailing their way through the jungle to try and make it to the studio at the top of the mountain.
I will say the back with the front and the back cover, there was a period of time where I really loved movies set in like the Amazon.
What am I talking about? Emerald Forest.
Emerald Forest. Thank you. And what's the one with the nitroglycerin? Sorcerer. Yeah, and all those kind of very lush vegetative films, Serpent and the Rainbow. And this does it for me. This really does evoke that
Baby, the
feeling.
Lost Legend. Yeah.
Yeah, this speaks a lot about it really makes you feel like you're hanging out in the jungles and a jungle community in the Brazilian rainforest.
Yeah, it's not a great cover, but it has enough mystery, and with the songs and Paul Simon's
I don't think it's a bad
lyrics,
cover at all. I don't think it's a bad cover. I think it's a good cover. I really like the font they used. I like the positioning of Paul Simon, like how it's down at a 90-degree angle, making kind of like an L kind of shape.
Honestly,
you're right. It's very. There's a lot of mystery in this cover. And I like the fact that it's blurred. It's tense.
It almost looks like it's mud, like they're running from a flood or something. It's kind of cool.
Or they're transforming into jaguars.
Yeah.
To me, you just got to listen to the album. It's an incredible album. It's one you can listen to all the way through. It starts out really bright, and then it progressively gets darker, and then you get to this track called Cool Cool River, which is really heavy, and you're not really sure what it's about, and then you kind of realize, it's a message for environmentalism. And I mean, this is 1990, but it's even more prescient today when you hear it. And he's talking about all these things and the river of time, and then finally you make your way out of the jungle at the end of the album. But it's it's
See,
a
that's
journey.
that right there, Inks. That's a journey, folks,
Yeah.
and that's what all these covers have been like. Because when you're a child, and this is for us. This is why this show is important for us. And I know it's not the same for a lot of people, but for us, when we looked at covers as kids, we were transported into those. We went on journeys. We saw things. We went on adventures. Like, we would sit there and stare at these covers, and we would, like I said, we'd create novels. We'd create movies. We would play games that were based on the ideas created from these covers. And that's why this is important. And I will be honest, I still do that shit today. When I see a cool cover,
for sure.
I will sit there and stare at it. And like I said, the tape mistress will be talking to me. My kids will be talking to me. I'll be like, what? Sorry, I was in the woods finding the Gornak. Like, that's what happens when I look at these covers. And that's why covers are effective. And that's why they're important.
Yeah. That's why I love art. I mean, I was saying this the other day in one of our episodes that, your bowl of imagination, your imaginative capacity starts to lose its juices the older you get.
Yeah.
I was telling my wife a few years ago, it's like, my imagination is failing me,
Your cup doth not run overeth.
Yeah, because when you're a kid, it runs over, and you can be in those places, and you feel, you feel like what's in your imagination and what you're looking at, and you make all these connections, and everything feels so palpable. And as you get older,
It's visceral.
It's visceral. As you get older, it's not that way. There's too many. It's that Peter Pan thing, You're no longer
tired. You're essential.
Yeah. You're no longer a lost boy. Yeah,
You gotta take care of your family.
But I can look at Rhythm of the Saints, and I feel a little piece of an adventure.
Yeah, mystery and adventure.
Mystery. And that goes with everything.
And I think you're right. A good art is the spark. It starts the flame.
Yeah,
and that's what all of these covers have done tonight.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about. That's what this episode has been about. And I highly encourage you folks, if you don't think you have that, if you've never had that, if you don't know what we're talking about, I mean, you can't do it right now, obviously, because screw that. You can do that now. Open up Google, hit images.
It's called the internet.
Hit images and type in Dungeons and Dragons. Type in
you can
Paul
start
Simon.
at coverdecoder.com and you can look at our list.
You should start at coverdecoder.com.
You should absolutely forget the rest of the internet. We work hard to put links up there. You owe us to look at those goddamn links and see what our childhood was made of. This is our visual macaroni and cheese for you.
Yeah, and please, when you listen to this, here's my challenge to you. Send us your comfort cover.
Oh, yes.
Send us your comfort cover. I want to see it.
Yes.
I want to know what it is. Or vice versa, if you've never done this before, if you've never lived in a cover and you look one up and you find one, send that to us. I want to see it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. You know what I almost did? One of my cover comforts as a kid, I had two of them, and they were cookbooks from my mom's cookbook shelf. And one of them was a cookbook about cookies. And,
there you go.
Dude, I looked at that book so much as a kid. It still has scribbles on it. It has check marks when I made them and ate them. Another one was this Chinese food, how to make Chinese food, and everything in there looked like something an alien would eat. And everything was way too glazed and crispy looking, like Little Richard's head.
Yes, we're going to do some more of these. This is not the only comfort food.
No, we got more.
Decoder. We've got so much more. But yes, we want you to be a part of the journey. We want you to take us on a journey. And
yeah, thanks for being us again. I am Tapes. We got Inks over here and Brengineer in the digital world. Send us your covers, your comments, whatever you got.
Moon Age is also here with us.
Moon Age is, of course. I'm sorry, folks.
Moon Age has been on this journey.
Moon Age has been on this journey with us. Moon Age doesn't have a microphone, which at some point Moon Age is going to fix and join us in this virtual chat room. But yeah, please send us your whatever messages you got for us, covers, whatever. You can message us at Cover Decoder, at Cover Decoder on Instagram, or you can send us a message at coverdecoder@gmail.com. And again, like Ink said, please go to our website. Check us out there. Thank you guys. This has been Cover Decoder, Comfort Covers. We will see you guys next time.
Bye.